friends, and welcome back to Dare Me to Prosper. My name is Avery, and I'm your host. This is episode 63, and we're talking about the current energies, specifically moving from February into March, and is anything actually changing yet? This is another one of those episodes that I've been doing a lot lately because I feel like this is just where we are collectively. So many of us are feeling the exact same type of energy. And so I want to speak to this right now because if you're anything like me, you might be like, how can I focus on any topic that isn't relevant to what's happening right now? Because the energy of right now is so strong and so overwhelming and so in our faces. It's like, can we just talk about what's happening in the room? So that's what we're talking about today. This is just a reminder, assuming that this episode comes out before the 28th, that Sensitive to Psychic, the course on developing your psychic intuition, is closing on the 28th. So it's on a 30% off sale right now. There is a discount code in the description. But if you are wanting access to that course, it is going away after the 28th, and it's not going to reopen for quite some time, or potentially only for one-on-one clients. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but now's your last chance to grab it as it is. Okay, I just had a really great member meeting with my members, and we had so much fun, and we were talking about a lot of things, but this included of this energy that we're moving into from February to March. So I feel like I'm really giggly and also kind of out of breath, but I love this topic because I love realizing that what I'm going through is also being felt by all of you guys from a different perspective. And I think it just goes to show that the way that this energy hits us affects all of us in the same way from different angles, if that makes sense. So I hope that this really resonates with you because while there's no, everybody is not always going to go through the same thing, this energy is very potent, and hopefully you will be able to pull something out of this episode that you really relate to. Okay, so the way I'm setting this episode up is basically, we've been talking about from December and January and into February how we've been wrapping up this major energetic shift, right? This one that has been prophesied and predicted for so long about the energy from 2025 to 2026 and this shift that we're going through. Now, the shift is wider, right? It's like a few years ago to a few years ahead. There's a really big shift, but kind of like the very top of the mountain where we're going up to the top and then we're finally going downhill. Like that's the point we're at right now. Like we're at the very peak of Mount Everest and we're just like kind of getting over the top and we're about to hit more of a downhill stream. That being said, a lot of us, I think, we're looking at 2026 from January and going, wait, 2026 is supposed to be better, right? Right? It's going to be a better year, right? And so we got into January and we got into February. And if you're anything like me, you might have been going, hold on, why are things not getting better? Like what happened to the good energy? Like what's going on here? That's what this episode is about. And it's going to be very, very encouraging. Also worth noting, and I've talked about this in previous episodes, but we have two kind of side-by-side realities right now, right? Because every shift that happens, every energy that comes in is affecting us on a collective level, like as, a global humanity, and on an individual level, like what's happening in our own lives. So individually, everybody is so vastly different. I could never make a statement that is going to cover every single person. However, there's a very large collective of us, especially if you are listening to this podcast right now, you are very likely to be in this collective, in this smaller group that is on this same or similar frequency, meaning that your life is more likely to look like what's happening with the rest of us that are kind of on this similar trajectory, okay? And the reason I say that is because collectively, it's like shit is hitting the fan, right? All of these things are still happening. All of these, exposed things, all of these things are being exposed. We have the Epstein files. We have alien disclosure. We have just complete chaos in politics and governments and, what's going on in Mexico this week. And just there's so much happening. And again, that has been predicted for so long. For so long, we heard it's coming. This is going to happen and this is going to happen. And all these things are going to happen. It's going to be crazy. And I think people almost started to lose hope or lose faith that we were going to have this big shift because I feel like we were talking about it for so long. And finally, it happened. We're seeing it in real time, right? We're looking around and the earth is just it's like somebody lit it on fire. There's so much happening, that is the systems breaking down. We are about to like break the surface of the water, and all of these systems that can't come with us are falling away and being destroyed and breaking down. And so that's the chaos that we're seeing so that we can get to the other side. Now, individually, your life is likely to be much less chaotic, much less extreme, which means a lot of the purging that we've done on an individual level doesn't look as chaotic as it does collectively, because there's not as much corruption and insane things that need to be broken down in you as an individual, because you're not evil. So a lot of the things that we've purged are mostly like internal things, right? We talked about that a lot in December and January. We were like purging out some of these last things, like all of the lessons that we've been learning for the past few years, or maybe for a lifetime. We were like really being pushed to get those last few things out of our body so that we could be aligned to this new frequency that we're stepping into. So collectively on Earth, that looked like complete tower moment. Everything's falling apart. For you as an individual, it's a lot less destructive and a lot more like you may have just had a really rough couple of months, or you just were processing some things internally that were really uncomfortable, good days, bad days. But it was happening on a more like emotional, internal, spiritual level for you as an individual. So now what that means moving forward is, as the energy shifts, collectively what we're going to see is a little bit slower of a trajectory, because there's so many of us and the collective is so large, right? It's slower. It shifts slower. It takes more of us and more time to kind of make those things happen, even though it's actually moving at lightning speed for a collective and just as the human race. Individually, things can pick up and move a lot faster, and it has a lot to do with where you are individually, what you have processed, lessons you have learned, what actions you have taken, and kind of where you are in your personal journey. Wherever you are and wherever you are set up to go, now we are really starting to step into that energy where it's getting exciting. And so now it's like the thing that we've talked about for so long, right? Kind of like we heard about all these things happening on Earth for so long. We were like, where is it? When is it going to happen? And then it started happening. Same thing here, but the good stuff. It's like, okay, we heard things were going to get better. When is it going to happen? When is it happening? Okay, here we go. It's go time. It's very exciting. Okay. And that's where, and I've been talking about this on TikTok a lot, but like the fire horse energy from Chinese astrology and all of these planetary placements, the astrology that you may have been hearing about, all of these things are happening at the exact same time, which just goes to show you how insane and condensed and intense this energy is right now. It's like truly, it's like a rocket launch where all of this like fire and this pressure and all of this energy is lighting up at the bottom to like push this giant rocket into space, right? It's like, here we go. The fire is lit and we're about to take off. It doesn't mean that your whole life changes overnight, but it means that if you're actually an astronaut getting ready to go to space, that is not something you do overnight. That is something you talk about forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And you prepare and you train and you get ready and you get ready. And then you finally get to step on the ship and go. That's what we've been doing, right? We've been preparing for years and we've been hearing about it and we've been learning about it. We've been getting ready. Now we're about to get on the ship. Gonna be a while until we get to our destination, right? But we're getting on the ship. This is like the most exciting point we've had thus far. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the fire horse, by the way, it's like in Chinese astrology, they have an animal each year that represents the energy of that particular year. Last year was the energy of the snake. It was a lot about like shedding this old skin, right? That whole, again, going back to the detox, we were getting all of this old energy out. The snake was shedding its skin that it no longer fits into so that it can grow, so that it can expand. It was a lot of internal work, right? That year, 2025, was very internal. It was a lot of like the not fun stuff, very transformational, right? Very life-changing, but on an internal level, it wasn't necessarily expressed outwardly yet. This year is the fire horse year. It's the Aries year. It is about bold, fast-moving action, visible progress, courage, independence, like this energy, this Aries energy, this like brand new year. We did all the prep work, right? We're the astronauts. You guys like this analogy? We're the astronauts that like did all this work and we prepped and we worked and did whatever we needed to do. And now here we go. It's game day, time to get on the ship. So the fire horse energy, and again, it aligns all with like the regular Western astrology, like all of the planets and the placements, all of them support the exact same energy, which is like new starts, action, quick paced movement, things actually materializing, all of that. The fire horse year It's just easier. Calling it the fire horse here, I feel like really embodies the energy of it. So even though I don't know much about Chinese astrology, I like the fire horse as a symbol here because it just perfectly describes the type of year, which is the whole point. But anyway, the fire horse wants external movement. But here's the thing, and kind of what we're going to talk about today. The fire horse, and I was just talking about this again with my members. By the way, I do that member meeting every single month where as a group, we dive in and we talk about, honestly, whatever they want to talk about. We ask questions, we go over things, we talk about how to apply all these principles to our real lives. It's just really fun. So that's the second tier of my Patreon. It's always linked. It's on my website. If you want to join us in that meeting, it's really fun. And you get access to all of the extra Patreon episodes as well. I don't even remember what I was about to say, but we were talking about this February to March energy. And what was really cool to witness was that like everybody kind of had a real life example of how energy is starting to pick up in a certain area of their life. Specifically, usually, and this is how it's going to be for a lot of people, because again, this external energy is really directly tied to your job, your income, how you show up in the world, your visibility, just how you move in the world. So like it could be relationships for sure. That's got its own energy coming up, especially like later this year. But this just outward, like more material, more like your passions and your path in life, your purpose, that sort of energy. And so it was just really cool to hear like, oh, in those exact areas, that's where we were starting to see just like hints of momentum, like, oh, this is happening and that's happening. And, here we go. This is like proof of what's to come. So that's really cool. I just love hearing about like those real examples because I've been seeing that in my own business. It's like all of a sudden after all of this like stagnancy and all of this like really slow upward climb, it's like all of a sudden, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. And it's kind of being like, oh, this is really exciting. Things are starting to come together. Like, oh, please, after all this time, after all of this like slow, gradual stuff, can we finally see some traction? That is the energy of March 2026. Okay, so even looking at the astrology, and again, I've told you guys this, I'm trying to learn astrology. It's like its whole language in itself. But I'm going to point to a few things that I understand, okay? Saturn in Aries and Saturn conjunct Neptune. So like Saturn and Neptune kind of being in the same spot, I believe. And then Saturn in Aries. So it's like Saturn, the planet of like discernment and like work and responsibility, dedication, like all of these things. I've heard Saturn referred to as like the father planet. Like he's always going to make you work, but it's going to be for, your best interest and it's going to pay off. Saturn delays, but it never denies. Like all of this sort of stuff. Like it makes you work for it, but for your highest purpose. Okay, so Saturn in Aries and Saturn conjunct Neptune is going to be like testing boundaries, but forcing clarity on your vision and alignment. So it's basically like we're taking action, but Saturn wants you to take aligned action. Like we're not just working for the sake of working, we're putting work to our dreams. We're taking our dreams and our aspirations and what we really want in life, like what we really want our life to look like. What do you want to do for work? What does your soul want to do? What do you feel like your purpose is? Like, 10, 20 years from now, what do you see yourself doing? It's probably not sitting at a desk for 8 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, what do you really want? Even if you think it's impossible, even if you think that's not realistic or there's no way, let me freaking tell you something. I want to cuss, but I'm trying to keep these episodes clean. I hate people saying something is not realistic. You tell other people what's realistic. If you feel called to something, it's not unrealistic, especially the world that we are moving into and the place that we are going. By the way, on the Patreon, I just did an episode a 2-part episode actually, on what Earth will most likely look like in like 10 to 20 years. So basically a prediction of future Earth. Very cool. But regardless, the place that we are moving to, we're moving away from corporate America. We are moving away from the 9 to 5. We are going much more small groups living together, supporting each other, like basically a modern version of where there's more bartering and there's more like there's less mass anything. Instead of mass apps, there is like smaller groups of aligned people finding their people on, new technology and different types of apps. Like we're going away from the influencer. Like all of these things are shifting and changing. And it's time for your life to start going down that trajectory. I cannot talk. To start going down that trajectory. The people that are going to have the hardest time with this are people who have been really indoctrinated with this idea, or maybe if you're just like a super, super logical person, which if you are, you're probably not listening to this episode. But either way, people who are either like overly logical or have just been really inundated with that idea of like what's realistic and what's not, those people are going to have the hardest time because you're so attached to that idea that something is not realistic. In the world we are moving into, you have no idea what will be realistic and what will not. We have not even begun to scrape the surface of what we believe is realistic and what real life even actually is. So I'll get off my soapbox now, but I just want you to really take home, like if you're going to take a dream and turn it into a reality, this is the year to do it. Do not let this energy pass you by, because the fire horse year, the Saturn and Aries, all of this stuff, it's about active energy. It's about like you have to get on the horse. Another analogy. You have to get on the horse and actually ride the horse. If you don't get on the horse, then this fire horse year doesn't benefit you at all. You have to take aligned action. That means go after your opportunities. That means like follow up on things. Actually start projects you've been wanting to start. Actually take time to pour into the projects that you want to pour into. Like maybe you're still working a 9 to 5 or, whatever this is. Maybe you want to move to a new city. My brother just moved to Portugal like a few days ago. Like ironically, literally the day Saturn went into Aries, he moved to Portugal, which I just thought was fascinating. But like that's what it's about, is like starting this whole new world that aligns with what your soul actually wants. Okay, just to go back to the astrology, like Uranus going direct as well is going to bring us like sudden breakthroughs and momentum in these areas that we've been stuck. Exactly what I'm talking about. All of these areas where maybe you've been like working really hard at something, or maybe you felt like I'm pouring all this work in and I just cannot get ahead, or it's not taking traction, or I feel like I want to give up. Hold on a second. All of these areas that have felt stuck are going to have like the gates open, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, wow, what I've been doing, now it's actually working. What I've been doing, I'm actually seeing some progress here. And again, it's not overnight. Like you're not going to wake up tomorrow and have $1 million. You're not going to wake up tomorrow and have your whole life change, but you're going to start actually seeing progress, which for those of us who have not been seeing progress, for those of us who have felt stuck and held back, and all of this energy we've been in for the last few years, especially, to have even just the slightest amount of encouraging progress and have the needle move just a little bit is so encouraging. Okay. And even like the recent new moon, solar eclipse, and Aquarius energy that we've been having is kind of, again, bringing us these collective shifts where we're getting opportunities for visibility. So if you're starting a new business, if you have a project that you're working on, if you're pursuing just a whole new lifestyle in general, all of a sudden, if you've been asking for opportunities to be visible, if you've been asking for opportunities to pursue something where you need to show up and you need other people to see you, doesn't mean it has to be like on a mass scale or on social media, but just to be recognized for this thing that you're doing, all of a sudden that energy is going to be supported. So do you see how all of these different pieces of this energy are coming together to literally give you the perfect ingredients to change your life? But the key is you have to take the action. You have to take the aligned action. Now hear me, because I said this a long time ago not a long time ago, but before everybody started talking about the fire horse, we were already talking about how going from 2025 to 2026 was a totally different type of work. 2025 and all the years before that, quite honestly, for the past 30, 50 years, we've been working overtime. We have been working in hustle mode. Even just a few years ago, like hustling was such a trend, it was all about the hustle and you got to put in the work and you got to do this. And you know where that got us? It got everybody burned out. Yes, based on the Capricorn energy that we were in, could you work hard and that could pay off and, bring you success? Yes, it could. However, it's not sustainable success, because you cannot go that hard and work that hard and do all these things and juggle all these plates long term without burning out. Hustle is not a lifestyle that you can continue in, which again, so many people that have had to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet, right? Both, like say you have a family with, 2 partners and children, it's like both partners have to be working and maybe one of them has to work 2 jobs, or whatever it is. It's like we have to overwork. We have to do all of these extra things just to make ends meet. And then it's like, if you have to put your kids in daycare, like that's its own insane cost. It's so unsustainable, and we're having to hustle and hustle. Now, of course, a lot of that is due to the corrupt system that we've been living in, which is now doing what? It's breaking down, because we're all recognizing, we're all waking up to this idea of this system that we've been living in is so over-controlled, and it is so harmful to us as regular people. Meantime, there's, all these billionaires making insane amounts of money feeding off of the suffering that is our system, right? That's its own episode. But that is part of the system that's breaking down. We are moving into a place where you can have all of your needs met. Not only that, everybody can have their basic needs met without question. And you can do it while you do work that is meaningful to you. You don't have to work 2 jobs. You don't have to work a 9 to 5. You can do whatever it is that feels like you are meant for it, that brings you joy, that makes you feel purposeful. And I know some people are like, well, I don't want to work. That's fair. But I want you to think of it like this. Whatever you are doing, it's not going to feel like work. It's just going to feel like something you want to do. Maybe you want to be an artist. Maybe you want to be a musician. We're moving out of a phase where we're going to start thinking of these more of like just ways of being, and not like, this is my job. Not overnight. I mean, that's a 10, 20, 30, 40-year shift. But this is the direction where we're headed. And so I say that to say, again, going back to being realistic, stop trying to be realistic. This energy that we're moving into, we're going away from the hustle and we're going into aligned action, moving from that snake year, the Capricorn energy, into this fire horse year. We're going away from the hustle and we're going into aligned energy. So if you are overworking, if you're burning out, if you're trying to hustle, if you're overdoing it, that is not the energy that will be supported. That is not going to work like it used to work, right? It used to work, you could get what you wanted, but it wasn't sustainable. Now it won't even work, right? If you go into this year and you try to hustle and do all these things, it's not going to get you where it may used to have gotten you. Does that make sense? What this year is asking of you is aligned action. Don't overdo it. Take action, focusing on things that feel the most aligned to you. Now, you don't need to go get fired, but just saying, like say you have a full-time job and then you're there's like a passion thing on the side that you're really interested in. Now is the time to start shifting more of your energy into the thing that really lights you up, and less of your energy into the thing that is draining you. It doesn't mean you just like stop showing up to work if that is how you support your family right now. You know what I mean? But it means like stop feeling like you have to give all of your energy to the thing that's quote unquote realistic. We're moving away from that energy. We're moving out of that 3D, that masked, that illusion of what our world, of what we have been told our world is, into what our world actually is, into what our existence is really about, how the universe really works. So now is the time to give a little bit more energy to the things that light you up. Just put more of your focus there. Don't burn out. Don't try to hustle. Don't try to give anything more than you have the energy or the space for. But instead of letting a job or, whatever it is that is draining you take so much of your attention, shift over to the thing that you really want to be pouring your attention to and give that more of your attention. Think about it long term. Like, where do you want to go with this? Where do you want to take this? What do you want your life to look like, even 5 years from now? Start taking that action now. I was just talking to my members about this, where it was like a guest that I wanted to have on the podcast. I had reached out back in like December or January and didn't hear back. I was like, oh, that happens a lot. People are busy, right? Well, I reached back out this week and it was like, oh my gosh, of course. Yes, I want to be on the podcast. And I was like, this is the perfect example of I took an action a couple months ago that didn't go anywhere. I took an action this past week, all of a sudden, like resounding result. Resounding yes, like, right? That thing is actually taking root now. Perfect example. Things that may have been stuck before, now they're supported. Now the energy's taking off. I have literally just been ranting for the past 25 minutes. I'm not even looking at my outline. I've literally just been word vomiting at you like crazy. Okay, let's actually cover some things that I was intending to cover in this episode. And a lot of that is that I don't want you guys to feel discouraged if you haven't started seeing it yet, because that is how I was feeling in January and February. It's like, okay, because sometimes I like to gaslight myself, just for fun. I am like, wait a minute, I've been talking about this energy. I've been, telling everybody about this energy. I'm looking at the astrology, like I'm tuning into the energy myself. Like, what's going on? Why am I not seeing this like play out yet? Then I start to get in my head and I'm like, did I tell everybody the wrong thing? Whoa, hold your horses. No, it's that January and February, we're still wrapping up. Again, talking to my members, it was like, this is how I was describing it, is like 2025 was bonkers, right? It was like everything was falling apart. Everything was on fire. It was really hard, doing a lot of shadow work, a lot of intense emotional stuff, internal work, all of that. Okay. 2026 is all about takeoff and action and here we go and like wheels moving, right? January and February were kind of like the stabilization months in between that. So December was rough. I don't know about you guys, but like not that it was a horrible month, but just like I remember going through some deep, dark stuff in December where it was like there was a few days there where I was like, am I okay? Like, do I need to call a hotline? Like, what are things okay right now? And it's just that, especially if you're somebody like me that is just very sensitive to the emotions that you're feeling. Like when you feel something, you feel it like 1,000%. And so it's like my highs are high, but my lows are low. Like if I'm feeling something, I'm really feeling it. And thankfully I'm self-aware enough to understand like, okay, this is what I'm probably moving through. It doesn't make the emotion feel any better, but it gives me some context as to like why I might be feeling something. But anyway, December had a lot of that deep, dark internal work going on, right? And then it's like January and February, at least for me, it's like it loosened up a little bit, but we're still not taking off. We're still not quite getting where we want to go. That's because the energy was still stabilizing. Dumpster fire, then we're like putting out the fire, and now we're resetting everything. My analogies are just on fire today, no pun intended. See what I mean by I was just like giddy? Okay, focus. I'm saying that to say I don't want you to get discouraged if you have felt like that. Okay, because in February, we were still working through some residual internal blocks from last year, just like the leftover stuff, the little like inklings, right? The leftover fears, the leftover doubts, the leftover uncertainty. We were feeling impatience. I'm like one of the most impatient people on the planet. So if you guys are anything like me, it was like, what the hell? What am I waiting on? Like, can we go? Can we move? Okay. Unfortunately, for people like me, the universe does not work that way. You cannot rush things like this. There are some things that you have control over that you can kind of speed up. But the bigger something is, the less it can be rushed. Okay, you cannot force this movement. You have to wait for the energy to support it, which goes back to my episode, if you haven't heard it, on how manifestation doesn't work without astrology, right? It's like you can manifest all day. Unless the energy supports what you are trying to bring in, it doesn't really matter. You're just going to sit there at the starting line like, okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. And it's not until the energy is supported, which is why astrology is so important. It's not until the energy is supported then that the thing can actually manifest. And that has to do with both current placements in the sky and also your particular birth chart. Those things interact together, so it's different for everybody, but the timing has to be supported. And the good news is now the timing is supported. So we only have a few days left of February, and the closer we get to March and April, and this summer has like a ton of really exciting energy around it too, but it's just like we're getting to the good stuff. So whatever it is, like when I'm talking about all of this stuff, whatever is coming up for you, like whatever it is in your mind that you're like, you know what, this is the thing that sounds like that. This is the thing that I want to focus on. I want to get away from this energy and I want to start moving into this energy. I want you to like write some of that stuff down. Think about what is it that you want? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want your life to feel like? What passion project do you have, or a purpose that you feel like you have, or a path that you want to take? Write that stuff down and then think about what actions could I take right now that could move the needle forward. And again, aligned action, like don't overdo it. You're not hustling. You're not burning out. You are understanding that right now your action is supported. Any action that you take now and moving into March, moving into April, it will be way more supported. It will return better results than it would have if you did it a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Okay? Make sure you're doing your spiritual hygiene like we talked about in the last episode. You know, there's so much energy like moving around right now. Make sure you're clearing your own energy. You are, daily just doing a cleanse of like anything that's not yours, anything that might be weighing you down. And track small wins. The things that do happen, like just my little example of like, oh, an email hit that didn't hit before, but it's actually like really exciting for me. write that down. Write it down. Write down what happened when, because that way you can look back and you can say, oh yeah, it's also like encouragement to you. Oh, this happened when those shifts were happening energetically. And then this happened. And then this happened. And you can kind of track, right? Because if we're not tracking stuff, a lot of times we just lose track. We're just so anchored into our current moment. We forget the encouraging stuff that's already happened. We forget how far we've already come. So write down little wins that you have. And more than that, think about what steps you want to take. Think about what actions would actually move the needle, because you have to get on the horse, right? Otherwise, the horse is going to pass you by. You have to get on the horse. You have to take the action. It just needs to be aligned action. It needs to be intentional, and it needs to be what you want. What is it? What lights you up? What brings you joy? What makes you happy just thinking about it? It doesn't mean like you could have your dream, career or your dream project that you could be working on. It doesn't mean that nothing is ever a drag, or that like there's something not like. I hate editing podcast episodes. I love the podcast. Editing these episodes is such a pain in the butt. I fall asleep when I'm doing it. It's just, I'm editing out all the little gaps and the ums and the buts and the whatever. I don't like that part, okay? But it doesn't matter. That is like a small piece of this bigger view of what I am pouring my life energy into. Okay, so I'm still going to take that action. I'm not going to record the podcast and then not edit it, right? Even though that part's not fun, that's part of the process. That's part of me moving the needle forward. So it doesn't mean that every single thing is fun about what you're doing, but it means you're taking that aligned action. Not perfectionism, not overthinking, just doing. It's not delay time, it is go time. And then those external results are going to start appearing because the energy is supportive when the action is aligned. That is not luck, that is energetic responsiveness. That is the energy literally responding to what is supported. This is just how the universe works, right? Everything is energy. Everything works on frequencies in alignment. Everything's a radio station that matches the frequency of other things. So it's like now the universe, the energy of the planet is now matching this higher frequency that many of us have been trying to get to for a very long time. And that momentum is going to start snowballing. You're going to take action, and then you're going to get a positive response from that action. And then your opportunities are going to expand, and then your next steps are going to become easier. And we're going to go and go and go. Not overnight. Everybody's on a different trajectory. Everybody has like already done some work. Everybody's already, some people have done more work. Some people have more work to do. It just depends on where you are, but the energy is the same regardless. Where you are in 10 years starts right now. Where you are in terms of what quote unquote job you have, what passions you are doing years from now, that starts now. What you do now in 2026 is going to set up your long-term visibility, your long-term life path. Okay, I feel like if I just keep talking about this, I'm just going to keep rambling in circles. I'm so excited. I see progress. I already feel like I'm in this energy. Just talking to myself. It doesn't mean I'm not going to have any more bad days. But I can feel this energy like coming in, and it just feels so good after so much struggle and so much purging and so much learning and doing the work and processing and blah, 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 blah. That was all necessary, and it's all going to pay off. And so I just want you to be encouraged that what you hope is coming as long as you take the aligned action. There will still be hard days. There will still be struggles. There'll still be stuff you don't want to do. But the opportunity that you have to create a life you never dreamed of, a life that you thought was unrealistic, all of a sudden those doors start opening in 2026. Okay. Again, if you are interested in joining the membership group, which, by the way, that is a women's only group. I don't say that often because I think naturally that's who's drawn to it. But just FYI, just to keep it safe for vulnerability right now, that's a women's only group. And again, I mentioned this last episode, but I'm starting to open up one-on-one guidance sessions where I'm deep diving with you one-on-one into whatever you are working on right now, whatever shadow work you might still have to do, whatever is coming up for you, whatever, kind of energy you need to clear, relationships you're working through, whatever your, dreams are, passions you have, your intuitive gifts, like all of the things. It's like one session where we cover all of that for you as an individual. I get all your background and we deep dive into your personal stuff. If you are interested in that, I'm still kind of putting these packages together and what I want them to look like. If you're interested in that though, I'm going to offer them at lower prices now than when I get it all set up because I'm still working that out. So if you want to be one of the Kickstarters to these one-on-one lessons, there is a link in the description to just send me a message and let me know what you want to work on personally and what you're interested in and all of that. I love working with you guys. I have so much fun getting to know you. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you guys so much. Speaking of appreciating you guys, if you would leave a review, that makes a really big difference, a really freaking big difference. A really, really big difference. If you haven't left a review, please go leave a review, especially on Apple Podcasts. But thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.